Hey everyone, I'm back from my break. So at the end of February, towards basically the end of the winter season, I was basically trying to set up and acquire any sort of imaging as long as the night was clear. And I'm not gonna lie, trying to force myself like that to just get some imaging done because the winter season was ending, it wore on me. And I told myself that once February was over, I was going to step away from astrophotography for maybe a week, maybe a few weeks, and going down to Palm Springs, going to that Indian Wells tournament, and having a tennis center trip was exactly what I needed to sorry, I need some water to rejuvenate my astrophotography and also my tennis game. So with that being said, I'm back with another video, and before I keep going, I want to thank OPTOLONG for sending me these brand new 3 nanometers narrowband filter that consists of hydrogen alpha, oxygen 3, and sulfur 2. They sent it to me for the purposes of this review, and I will actually compare them against my very own ZWO 7 nanometers narrowband filter. And I hope that I can show you, you know, what a 3 nanometer filter is all about compared to a 7 nanometers, and why you may consider having a 3 nanometer bandpass in your collection. So in this review, I will be comparing, like I said earlier, the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers filter compared to the ZWO 7 nanometers filters. And I want to stress that there is nothing wrong with using the 7 nanometers filter from ZWO or any other comparable 7 nanometers bandpass. And the reason why I say that is because as you well, I guess as you narrow down on your bandpass, the price tends to go up pretty high. So at the time of this recording, late March, well, basically March is over. We're heading into April. You can get a set of the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers for $1,200 US. And you can get a set of the ZWO 7 nanometers bandpass filters for around $700 US. So there is nearly 2 times the price difference when it comes to the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers filter. So I want you guys to keep that in mind when you're considering these filters. Is the 3 nanometers better? Well, that's what this video is about. But I want to stress that if all you're using and you have no desire to upgrade to a 3 nanometers and you're just using the 7 nanometers narrowband filters, there's nothing wrong with that. I was able to get several amazing images with the 7 nanometers. So do not let anybody equipment shame you into upgrading. Only upgrade when you decide that there's a need in your own astrophotography journey. Okay, so why would anyone want to consider upgrading to a narrower bandpass when it comes to the narrowband filter? Well, there's really one main reason, and that is to limit even more light pollution from your surrounding background sky. I went over this in another video where I discussed, how to interpret filters. So I'm not going to explain the whole concept again. You can go ahead and watch my other video. But the whole idea here is that when you have a narrower bandpass, you're restricting even more non-specific wavelength to the data that you're going after, whether it's hydrogen alpha, oxygen 3, or sulfur 2. But I want to stress this. You are not collecting any more photons by going to a narrower bandpass. Let's just say, for example, on any given night, you collect 100 photons of hydrogen alpha. And you're going to collect the same amount of hydrogen alpha whether you're using a 7 nanometers bandpass or a 3 nanometers bandpass. What makes, theoretically, a 3 nanometers filter superior is because by limiting even more of the background light pollution, your data becomes sort of enriched because there's less surrounding light pollution to sort of overwhelm the signal that you want. So that is why, in theory, a 3 nanometers bandpass will give you better signal compared to a 7 nanometers bandpass. So in theory, if you're living in a heavily light polluted skies like I am in San Francisco, the narrower bandpass, as narrow as you can afford, is going to be your best filter. Now I will spend the rest of this video to go over my comparisons between the 7 nanometers from ZWO and the 3 nanometers from OPTOLONG, and hopefully that will shine light into why anyone would consider going to a narrower bandpass, such as the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers filter set. I want to quickly go over my methodology for this comparison. I actually did the capture between the two filter sets under the same night, and I actually did it within the hour so that my object of choice, which was the Seagull Nebula, would stay in a relatively same spot of the sky. Within 1 hour, your object's not going to move that much. And the reason for that is because I want to make sure that my comparison is not due to the fact that my object is moving up higher and higher or lower and lower, where light pollution and atmospheric interference becomes a factor. I thought to myself, well, if I do everything within 1 hour, then whatever I see should be because of the filter, not because the object is moving into a better part of the sky. And I try to take at least 3 images per filter, and I set the exposure time to be 5 minutes for each of the filter, and also my camera setting were identical at unity gain. So whatever you're about to see is attributed by the difference in the filter. And I hope that you guys will, use this methodology when you're experimenting or trying your own gear, and that you limit the variable to one thing as much as you can. So then whatever difference that you see is attributed by the one variable that you're changing. So with that out of the way, let's go on with the comparisons. One last note. Another version of me from the past accidentally deleted the Sulfur 2 data. So unfortunately, I won't be able to provide you with a direct comparison for Sulfur 2, but I'm hoping that you guys can strike a correlation from the comparisons that I have for you guys for the hydrogen alpha filter and the oxygen 3 filter. I can show you what I was able to capture from the Sulfur 2 OPTOLONG 3nm filter, but I unfortunately deleted, so stupid, deleted the ZWO 7nm version of the Sulfur 2. So sorry about that. There's nothing I can do. I can't retrieve the data. So I'm just gonna work with what I have. So let's go on with the comparisons. Now, what you see on the screen right now, for the rest of this comparison, everything on the left side of the screen, it's going to be for the OPTOLONG 3nm set. Everything on the right side of the screen, it's going to be for the ZWO 7nm set. And never mind the typo up here. I meant to write 3nm, not 3mm. And I did the same over here for 7nm, obviously. So never mind that. But just remember, everything on the left is for the OPTOLONG. Everything on the right is for the ZWO 7nm. And right now, we're looking at a raw, unedited image. All my images that you see for the rest of this video will be unedited, straight out of the camera. The only thing I've done was to use PixInsight and did a preview stretch, as you can see here. So everything that I'm showing you is just a raw image. And one thing I want to say here is that both of these pictures were taken with a 5 minutes exposure using the same camera setting. And I'm not going to focus too much on, make this a little, let me drag this down a little bit so that they're more comparable. I'm not going to focus too much on some of the brighter, stronger regions because, you know, as you can tell, the head and the shoulder and the wing of the Seagull Nebula, it's got pretty strong signal by itself already for hydrogen alpha, where light pollution doesn't really come into a factor. I think when it comes to the stronger regions, both filters are pretty much identical. It's a wash. However, what I do want to focus on is some of the fainter regions down below. I guess you can call this the torso of the bird. I don't know. And what I want to stress is that if we focus on sort of this lower left corner right here, you can see the OPTOLONG 3nm. There's more of the fuzzy stuff here compared to the ZWO 7nm in a similar region where if you look at the ZWO version, there's less of the fuzzy stuff. And man, I really hope that YouTube doesn't ruin the picture quality because it's not striking. But if you look close enough, you can definitely notice that in the torso region of the bird, the 3nm, because it does a better job at blocking out light pollution with this 3nm bandpass. It is allowing the fainter hydrogen alpha signal to come through compared to the 7nm hydrogen alpha of the ZWO, where the fainter regions are sort of diluted by the light pollution in my backyard. So As far as hydrogen alpha is concerned, I'm going to say that yes, the 3 nanometers is superior because I'm able to see more of this fainter stuff. Now, I want to move on to the oxygen 3 filter. And once again, we're looking for the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers, everything's on the left. For the ZWO 7 nanometers, everything's on the right, right here. And I picked the Rosette Nebula because I know that that object has quite a bit of oxygen 3 for me to capture, and it will be a good way to demonstrate, which filter is superior, the 7 nanometers from ZW or the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers. And once again, I'm not going to focus on the stronger regions of the picture because I think when there's enough signal, then light pollution doesn't really matter. So if we look at the center part of the Rosette Nebula, I think between the 3 nanometers of OPTOLONG and the 7 nanometers of the ZWO, they're very comparable. What I do want to focus on instead is the upper region right here, upper left region. And I picked this region because, as you can tell, well, maybe I can even do this a little bit to make it a little bit more apparent. I hope that you guys can appreciate the fact that, from my eyes at least, I am seeing more of, once again, similar to the hydrogen alpha, I'm seeing more of the fuzzy signal, some of the fainter signal. In this case, the oxygen 3 near the center of the Rosette Nebula, like up here, I'm just seeing more signal compared to the 7 nanometers ZWO. And once again, I hope that YouTube doesn't ruin this comparison with their compression, but for my eyes, at the very least, I'm going to say that the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers is the winner here, simply because I'm seeing more of the fainter stuff for my object. Now, this next test is something that a lot of us has to deal with, and I want to thank I want to thank all of you guys who voted either on my YouTube channel or among several of the Facebook group that I posted. Whether or not you guys are dealing with halos when you guys use any sort of narrowband filter. By the way, I have my own Facebook page for this channel, and I hope that you guys will go ahead and visit that group and join, and we can have more discussions up there, and you guys can sort of get behind the scenes of what I'm doing for this channel. I'll put the link to the group in the description. I hope that you guys will go take a look at it. From the results that I got, roughly 60% of you guys are dealing with some sort of halos when you guys are using narrowband filters, whether that's one-shot color camera or true monochrome. And only around 30-ish% of you guys are saying that you guys don't have any sort of halo problem. I envy those 30% of you because, like the majority of you, I too deal with halos, and which is why I decided to go on with this particular test. And the way that I understand halos is that it comes down to the quality of the coating on the filter, because the way that you get halo is because light is being bounced back and forth within your optical train and then ultimately hitting your sensor, I guess, a second time around from being bounced around. So that's why you get these sort of big and annoying halos around some of the bigger and brighter stars. Now, there is a way to deal with it in post, but optically, that halo data is in your image. The only way that you can do is sort of manipulate it in post editing. So I went ahead to did a halo test. And I want to show you guys that most of this halo is coming from the oxygen 3 bandpass. And let me demonstrate that really quickly. For this test, I used, where is that file? So for the halo test, I want to see whether or not you actually still get a halo with the hydrogen alpha filter. And I exaggerated this because if I set my exposure time to 10 minutes, if I don't get a halo in 10 minutes, I'm not going to get a halo, period. And I picked the, damn, this is this is really good data. I wish I finished up the project. I ran out of time. Anyways, I picked the Horsehead and Flame Nebula because I knew that the Bright Star Alnitak is going to give, if you get halos, this star will definitely give you halos. And at 10 minutes, I'm not seeing any halo with hydrogen alpha. So I know that I just wanted to confirm that, hey, you know, the halo is actually coming from the oxygen 3 filter. So let me show you the oxygen 3 filter results. I'm going to start with, where is it? Okay, so this is the same picture with the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers, and I want to see at 30 seconds first to see if I get any halo. So of course at 30 seconds you're not going to see much of the nebulosity, especially for oxygen 3 in that region, but you do see the Bright Star Alnitak, and I don't see a halo at 30 seconds. And I want to compare it to the ZWO at 30 seconds. Where is it? There it is. At 30 seconds, the ZWO 7 nanometers is already showing halos at 30 seconds. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself, well, 30 seconds, nobody's going to use that when they do narrowband imaging, right? So I went ahead and did the same thing, took the same picture, this time with 600 seconds or 10 minutes. And let me show you the results. At 10 minutes, oh wow, you can actually see a little bit of the oxygen 3 nebulosity in the Flame Nebula. At 600 seconds or 10 minutes, you know, there's already halos. And I also see a bit of a gradient with the oxygen 3 filters. And to my surprise, and this was really exciting to me because when I did the same thing with the OPTOLONG 3, the OPTOLONG oxygen 3 3 nanometers filter at 600 seconds or 10 minutes, I don't see much of a halo. I see bloated stars, but I don't see halos. And this is super exciting to me. And also at the same time, I don't see as much of a gradient compared to the ZWO 7 nanometers. So once again, this is doing a better job at the light pollution, at blocking out that light pollution. And this is super exciting to me because, you know, if I were to use this 3 nanometer filter set, I don't think I'm gonna have to deal with halos ever again. I mean, if I expose an image at a bright star for 10 minutes and I don't get a halo, then I'm not gonna get a halo pretty much anywhere else. Once again, at 10 minutes I get bloated stars, but that is to be expected. I was not expecting not getting halos. So this is super exciting. Yeah, I think the evidence here is pretty clear cut that the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers is a superior filter set compared to the ZWO 7 nanometers. Yeah, super excited. I think this is a good spot for me to wrap up this review video. Now, as I said in the beginning, I want to stress that there is nothing wrong with using a 7 nanometers bandpass filter if that's all you're working with. And I'm saying that because, you know, filters can become really expensive. The jump from ZW 7 nanometers to the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers is almost twice the price. And I think some of you may already know that there are other even more expensive filter offering out there that's more than the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers. But I think for the performance to value, and I want to quote, I want to specify when I say value, that's relative to what's already out there. This OPTOLONG 3 nanometers performs exceptionally well. It does such a good job at blocking out light pollution that your signal, it's sort of intensified, it's sort of enriched, and you will begin to see signals from fainter regions that you couldn't see before with a 7 nanometers bandpass, because that light pollution sort of just dilute out the signal. But more importantly, if you're somebody like me who's been suffering from halos around some of the brighter stars, I hope that I was able to demonstrate to you that the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers, it's a little box of magic, because this set does not produce any sort of halo. Of course, if you overexpose stars, they're going to be bloated. But I think, relatively speaking, compared to what other filter set is available out there, this OPTOLONG 3 nanometers strikes a good balance between outright performance and, once again, relatively speaking, good value. I hope that you found this review video to be useful, and whether or not you want to make the jump to a 3 nanometers from OPTOLONG 3 it's up to you, and I hope that I've equipped you with the necessary knowledge to make your own purchasing decision. And I want to thank once again to OPTOLONG for setting out this set of filter for the purpose of this review. And with that being said, I wish you all good health, and I can't wait to start the Galaxy season and share it all with you guys. I hope you will stay tuned for the final image of the Seagull Nebula that I captured with the OPTOLONG 3 nanometers filter set. Until next time, take care. I wish you all good health, and clear skies, everyone. Bye.